So how do you know if what you are working on day in and day out in your business is actually making a positive impact for your bank account and for your clients? As a business owner, there are 1,800 million things that you need to be doing at any given time. Everything from social media to getting new clients to looking at your books to analyzing the data. It's often hard to figure out what's the best use of your time, energy, and money. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. I am Meg Clarke, an owner and founder of Clapping Dog Media, and every day we help clients distill what's making the biggest impact in their business and what they should, not have to do anymore. So if you're just getting started and you are completely intimidated by things like Google Analytics and ranking and traffic sources, then this video is for you. We're going to break down in the easiest, most understandable way possible the metrics that you should look at on a regular basis and what you can do about them to make them go a little higher or a little lower. Okay, so one of the most important things that we look at on a very regular basis is we look at overall sessions, and what we want to see is that they're going up over time. We want to make sure that in comparison to the previous month, previous quarter, and previous year, that the overall sessions are going up. They're increasing. And as you kind of dig into the sessions, it's important to know what kind of traffic are you getting. So we look at traffic sources, default traffic sources. We want to know, is it social media? Is it Google? Is it direct traffic? Is it your email newsletter? What types of sources are driving traffic to your website? So if you have a big increase or a big decrease when you're comparing it over time, you can see which source of traffic is causing the change. It's also important that if you're spending a lot of time on social media, posting to social, making videos, that effort is actually making a difference. Again, we want people to come to your website because that's where they're going to that's where they're going to convert. That's where they're going to pay you money, get on your newsletter, fill out a contact form. So we want people to come back to your website, and it's important to know what sources of traffic are driving the most traffic to your site. In addition to sources, we really look at engagement. Google cares a lot about engagement time, the average time that people spend on websites, and the overall engagement rate. Google's perspective, and from from Google's perspective, and from people perspective, if somebody comes to your website and engages, meaning they scroll, they click around from page to page, and they seem like they're reading the content, and that's because they're spending time on it, those are your target audience. People who are engaged with your content, they're more likely to convert and to reach out. We always look at the average engagement time and engagement rate. And just for metrics, the internet average for engagement time is 10 seconds. So if you can capture people's attention and get them to stick on your site longer than 10 seconds, you're sending very positive signals to Google. Assume that people are getting the answers that they're looking for from your website. Now, in GA4, there is this new metric that's called engagement rate. And it hasn't replaced, because it's not a one-for-one replacement of bounce rate, but it's what Google looks at now to kind of measure the overall engagement across the site. It is a percentage, and we like you can get higher than 30% engagement rate, because that tells you that the majority of people that are coming to the site are actually engaging with the site, liking the content, and clicking around. If your engagement rate is a little bit lower than 30%, or people are spending 10 seconds or less on your site, we would recommend that you make your site maybe a little bit more engaging. Make it easier to read by breaking up the content into shorter paragraphs so people are not so intimidated about reading it. We recommend that you add internal links to your site, which means you just link from page to page within your site. Make it easy for them to find additional pages that have similar high authority content on them. We also love things like media. Photos, videos, audio files, all of those things help people to stick around on your site longer. So those are just a few ideas, but if you have a low engagement rate and low average time on your site, we would recommend doing some of those things to keep people to stick around longer. The other things that we look at are the number of new users that a site gets from month over month. And this can be from a variety of things, whether it's from Google or newsletter or social media. It is just really important that month over month, as your traffic grows, that you're actually reaching new users. And so measuring the number of new users is really important. There isn't like a metric here that I would say you need this number of new users a month, but I would track it, and month over month, I would just make sure that it's getting higher and higher. I would also measure the source of those new users so that you can see, which effort, what are you doing in your marketing plan that's actually bringing in the most new users. The other things that we look at is content that people are reading and engaging with. We want to make sure that if we're producing blog articles or new videos or new podcasts on our website, that people are actually going to it. Otherwise, what's the point? If people aren't reading it and engaging with it, then why are you going through the money and effort to make that content? So it's really important that maybe monthly or twice a month, you look and see what people are actually reading on the site. It's really important to see what are the pages that are driving the most traffic to your site. Now, for these pages, we recommend that you always have a good, strong call to action so that you can lead. If people are engaging with a specific page, tell them on that page what you want them to do next, whether it's subscribe to your newsletter, reach out, or buy a service or product from you. Make sure on your most popular pages that you have a distinct and easy call to action for your users, to do something. Other things that we look at are if they're not getting traffic. If you're spending all this effort and energy creating content and people aren't actually reading it, then you might need to sit back and reevaluate your content plan. Maybe you have jumped to the bottom of the funnel and you haven't nurtured people through the problem. Maybe you're just, giving them an answer in that funnel. So it's important to look at the content and what people are engaging with, what are people reading on your website. Now, the next thing that we look at on a regular basis are the keyword rankings for a website. This is a little bit more nuanced and specific towards SEO, but it is really important to understand how Google sees and ranks your website. If you are ranking for keywords that are your expertise and are keywords that are what you are an authority in, that's really great. Oftentimes here at Clapping Dog Media, we dive into keyword rankings for new clients, and they are ranking for keywords that are all over the place. Sometimes they rank for people, like people on their team, and maybe that team member shares a name with somebody famous. That happens a lot. But people were looking for that name and they were driving a lot of traffic to the website. But we want to make sure that we look at keywords monthly, I would say, to make sure that we are known for our brand, our name, and that we're also found for what we do, where we are, what we're an expert in. We want to make sure that we're telling Google and we're showing up as the experts and the authority in our field that we are. Are writing content for what you're known in and what you're an expert in, and you're not getting found for those keywords, Google's not ranking for those, then you might need to look at your on-site optimization. And that may seem a little intimidating, but what I mean is, what are the titles of your pages? What are the SEO titles that you can put on the back end of the website? It's also important that you have headlines that include these keywords so Google can pick it up pretty quickly what the page is about and therefore your website is all about. How often should you look at these numbers? How often should you dive into your traffic and engagement? If you look at it, just like anything else, you can measure it too much and drive yourself a little bit crazy. But if you neglect it, then you can really miss some big strategic moves in your business. So let's kind of break that down a little bit. As a business owner that dives into SEO and organic traffic and helping clients grow their revenue, we look at numbers all the time. For our business, we are in it, if not every day, every other day. But that's because we're data nerds and we love to dig into the details of the numbers. For most people, I would recommend that you check out traffic on a weekly basis. And don't spend any more than 5 minutes on this, but look at your sessions, look at your new users. Are you getting new people? Are you moving in the right direction? If there's any spikes or significant jumps or drops, you can look at the sources and the pages and try to figure out why and, what could have caused such a thing. For keywords, I would recommend that you look at that on a monthly basis. There's a lot of factors that go into the keywords that your site ranks for. And if you look at them on a daily basis, that can drive you a little bit crazy. Maybe speaking from personal experience. But if you look at those on a monthly basis, you can look at the big picture trends and make sure that Google's picking up what you're laying down. Okay, so I know you're going to ask, how do we get these numbers and where do we go? Well, we use a number of tools to build our dashboards for our clients. Namely, we use Google Analytics. So we're using Google Analytics for now because that's what there is. And so we get a lot of traffic, engagement, popular page data from Google Analytics. We also use a tool called SEMrush or SEMrush for our keyword and ranking data. Now, Google Analytics is free. SEMrush does have a pretty hefty monthly fee. In addition to keyword ranking, it offers a plethora, almost an overwhelming amount of data from an SEO perspective. And it is completely intimidating and overwhelming if SEO is not your daily gig, because it's just a lot of data. I would recommend that you check out our dashboards. We build really simple dashboards with the metrics that matter most for our clients, and it includes all of the data that we talked about today. Breaks it down in a super simple way where it's just one dashboard that looks at traffic and keyword data. So if you're a business owner, you can pull up the dashboard any day or look at it in a succinct and clear, unfrustrating way, understand where you're at and what's working. So if you are I have no idea how my business is doing, go over to clappingdogmedia.com/audit and fill out our audit form. We're going to reply with a PDF that gives you a grade, A through F, that tells you kind of how your website's doing from Google's perspective, how easy it is to crawl, how quickly, how fast it is to download. And we're going to give you some pretty quick tips to make some changes. So head on over to clappingdogmedia.com/audit.